Good morning. So my name is Taj Smith, and I am the Faith Organizing Director for Freedom for All Massachusetts, also known as the Yes on 3 campaign. First, I just want to thank you all for having me here today. It's a gift to be able to be in worship with you all today, especially on this day. Now, this is a departure. These two readings are a departure from the regular lectionary readings that I would have usually preached today, but given some of the situation that the state of Massachusetts is in right now, I chose these two readings particularly because they have great significance for me as an artist, as a writer and lover of science fiction and all things where worlds are created, and as a transgender man. Now, as a child, I would try to imagine the creation story as I read it. Now, complete, total darkness, and some winds hovering or sweeping over a mysterious void. And then a burgeoning orangish glow was seeping through the black, only to burst into what we know of as day. Now, I never saw it as an immediate process. It was nothing like the Big Bang Theory that I learned about on PBS, where there was nothingness, and then, boom, there was everything. It was a slow burn. Light emerged from the darkness, kind of like ink seeping through the back of a piece of paper or through a shirt pocket. Light emerged from the darkness, bloomed into day, only to fold in and on itself at night. So, as God created light and separated it into night and day, God also created dusk and dawn. And as we have dusk and dawn, it's that time right where the light meets the dark, and they kind of blend into one, and you're not quite sure which is which at the moment. But they blend into each other. Light going to dark, dusk to dark, back to dawn, to day. It's fluid, seamlessly fluid. The cycle of the day and night. Now, this reading from John, so it's like hearkening back to Genesis in the middle of the New Testament, which I absolutely love, like going back to the beginning to give an origin story for Jesus, if it were. Jesus is the divine logos that orders the universe. And Jesus is that word that says, that is behind everything in creation. As God speaks, that word orders, and it is so. But as soon as that logos takes an incarnate form and comes to earth as Jesus, he is not accepted. And he is crucified. So I mean, this baffles me that this power that has that is not separate from God, that brings everything in order with God, aligns everything with God, so that nothing is separated from God as soon as it comes to earth and needs to be recognized by humankind. He is rejected. So I think about this in terms of gender, mainly because as God creates everything on this earth, a little piece of God is given unto that thing. Birds, fish, creeping things, the sun, the moon, the sky. These are all part of God. But humankind is special in that it's the only thing that is given God's image. So let's look at that last line. So God created humankind in God's image. In the image of God, they were created. Male and female, God created them. So I'm going to kind of parse this a bit because it's very poetic in its structure. So that first bit, it's meant to mirror itself. So that first bit, you have God, humankind, then God's image. This is the order in which the things they appear. In the second line, you have the image of God, and they is humankind. And then you have male, female, God, humankind. So if you line these things up, the one word that's missing from that last line is image. Male, female is not a plural, it's not a plural separation, it is a singular substitution for God's image. One thing, male and female is God's image. And everything in between, as sure as there is dusk and dawn, there are things in between with male and female. Now, I ask why would God create the world with such complexity and diversity of creatures and beings and things, and then get to humankind, a thing made that is supposed to represent God on earth, and then make it so simple? As sure as there is dusk and dawn, there are things in between male and female. Now, in classical Judaism, you have to do some digging, but in classical Judaism, the rabbis talk about 6 genders, each of which has a role that they fulfill in society, and they run a spectrum from being that which we would think of as male, that which we would think of as female, someone whose gender is indeterminate. They talk about these in a way that suggests that they saw them. They saw them and tried to make a place for them in the theological order of Judaism. So I don't have time to go into all 6 of the particular genders, but it's fascinating stuff, and I definitely recommend taking a look at it. But the thing I want you to take away is that gender's not something that is a binary system. It's not male or female. It's fluid. They meld together. Now, I know this isn't really easy stuff to unpack, and these are things that are given to us as children that we come up with, and that it's hard. It's hard to grasp. So, I know I mentioned I'm a transgender man. When I transitioned in 2009, so I was born, I was pronounced female at birth, and transitioned to male after a very long bout of depression, just after California voted down marriage equality and passed Prop 8. I worked on that campaign, and I was in college, and it was a really, really rough time. And in those moments, after I decided and asked my friends and my family to call me by a new name and use a new set of pronouns, people didn't take me seriously. Now, my family thought it was a phase. My friends would, some of my friends, a lot of my friends were good about it, but some of my friends would make jokes about the name thing and suggest other ridiculous names that I should try. And I'm like, no, I told you what my name is. Like, here I am, here I was, trying to speak my truth and say something that I knew to be true and say something into being. And they rejected me. I wonder, too, in those moments I started to wonder how Jesus felt in the Gospel of John in particular, where he would say that he is the Messiah and people wouldn't hear him. When he would say that he is the Son of God, or bringing a word, that a life-changing, life-giving word, and people just wrote him off. Now, I draw these comparisons to say that what is spoken, what we speak about our truths, about our beings, it has weight, and it is something to take seriously. So, when transgender children say that they are scared about the climate that says that their ability to exist in public as who they are is about to be taken away, believe them. When a transgender woman says that she is being harassed in public, believe her. I'm going to share with you some numbers, some of which will be very alarming. So in 2015, the National Center for Transgender Equality did a nationwide study about treatment of transgender people across the United States. And these numbers are taken just from the state report of Massachusetts, so Massachusetts alone. For children, transgender children, 73% of those who were out or perceived as transgender at some point between kindergarten and grade 12 experienced some form of mistreatment, such as being verbally harassed, prohibited from dressing according to their gender identity, disciplined more harshly, or physically or sexually assaulted because people thought they were transgender. Now, 11% of these students faced such severe mistreatment as a transgender person that they left a K through 12 school. Wow. Now, of adult respondents who visited a place of public accommodation, these are places like restaurants, hotels, restrooms, parks, museums, any place that's not homework or school, 30% experienced at least one type of mistreatment, including 12% who were denied equal treatment or service, 24% who were verbally harassed, and 1% who were physically attacked because of being transgender. Those numbers are lower than the children's numbers, but I think I have another set that is just mind-boggling to me, at least. Now, of these adult respondents, 62% avoided using a public restroom in the past year because they were afraid of confrontations or other problems they might experience. And 33% of respondents limited the amount they ate or drank to avoid using the restroom in the past year. I have a friend who works for a suicide hotline called Trans Lifeline that is specifically for transgender and gender nonconforming, gender diverse people. And numbers skyrocket when bills and propositions like Question 3 are introduced into public awareness. And they hear of people, like my friend hears of people who, and I've heard of people who pass out from dehydration and like will starve themselves because they don't want to risk running into or having a confrontation in a public space. And then there are those who just don't leave their houses. Like all people, transgender people want to live a life outside of their house, sometimes. And I feel like right now we have a chance to make this right. We as co-creators of this world, as architects and participants in this universe, we have a chance to make and bring forth a just world, a world of peace that exhibits God's mercy on this earth. And it's our turn. It's our turn to do it. So I'm hoping that in the coming weeks, as you learn more about what is on the ballot, that you will choose to build a more just world. Because we're stewards. We're stewards of this creation that God has made. Amen.